if you were anything like I was like 9 months ago, you'll probably want a few tips on learning how to drive, and that's exactly what we're going to be doing today. So pay attention, and you might not die once you finally have your permit. Alright guys, so the best thing to do when you're starting to learn how to drive is to ask your parents if you can go to an empty parking lot kind of close to your house. I mean, it doesn't have to be, obviously, but you can do that because it helps a lot when you're learning to, how to drive before you get your permit, because then you can get a feel for your car or just how to drive in general before you start driving on neighborhoods and then finally on major roads. Okay guys, so the first thing you know, which is really obvious, is to buckle up. And then once you do that, you have to adjust your seat for however tall you are. So for me, I have to go pretty much all the way back. And then after you do that, you adjust the steering wheel for your height again. So I keep it right here. And then once you do that, you adjust your mirrors like that. And then you turn on the ignition. Alright, so our engine is on, and then I'm going to shift into drive, but before we do that, we always keep our right foot on the brakes until we're actually ready to start moving. Alright, so I have my foot on the brake, and now I'm shifting into drive. Alright, so we just shifted into drive, and now we're gonna go forward a tiny bit, and then practice doing some turns. Now, when you let your foot off the brake a tiny bit, you start moving forward, which I actually didn't know that you could actually start moving forward without actually having to put your foot on the gas. So now we're moving forward without my foot being on the gas at all, and it goes up to about 5 miles an hour when it reaches the max speed after having not driven on the gas. So now I'm going to do a slight right turn, cross this barrier. And now I'm going to gently park right on this left side. Alright guys, so that was the first basics on how to drive in a parking lot. So we just drove a tiny bit, and then we learned how to park relatively well. So I really recommend, before you get your permit, come to empty parking lots like this a lot so you get a really great feel and just have more experience by the time you get your permit. And then once you start driving in neighborhoods, it'll be a lot easier than if you hadn't done this at all. Now that you've had a lot of practice in the parking lot, we're going to be taking a drive around the neighborhood, now that you have your permit. Now that we're going to be driving in the neighborhood, we're going to be doing the exact same thing that we did in the parking lot very first of all. So we buckle up first, and then I just put my key in the ignition just to get put it up while I adjust my seat and everything, but it's already adjusted from the last time when we were in the parking lot. So I'll just go ahead and turn on the ignition. You always have to be aware of what's going on around you. And after you drive for a while, it'll become second nature that you'll just always look every few seconds while you drive, just to make sure you know what's happening and you know how to react to certain situations. So that was a speed bump, which I didn't slow down enough for. And just in a second, we're going to be coming to a stop sign. This isn't a four-way stop, it's only a two-way stop. I have to stop, but the people going the ways across from me don't have to stop, like that guy. He doesn't have to, but I do. Then I have to watch both ways. There's a bit of traffic right here, so I have to wait. Then there's no one coming, so I'm going to turn right. Now I'm going to get up to the speed limit. This is still in neighborhoods, but it's a minor road, so the speed limit goes up a tiny bit more, and you will encounter probably more traffic when you go on these more minor roads. And one of the things you'll notice is you'll probably be pretty tense at first when your parents next to you when you start using your permit and driving around neighborhoods, but after a while you become less tense, less nervous, but you're still always cautious, no matter how you drive, because that's just part of being safe while you drive. All right, so just as you got a ton of practice in the parking lot, make sure you ask your parents that you can drive around in the neighborhood plenty of times, so you have lots of experience just like you did in the parking lot. So then once you have a lot of experience there, you'll be able to finally do the last step of driving, which is to go out on major roads. Okay, this is our final part. We're on the major road now. So, what we're doing is turning right, and as you can see, it's rush hour, and you probably won't drive during rush hour until you're a bit more experienced. But we will, we're doing this now, so, what you have to notice, though, is when you're on major roads, you have to not only be aware of yourself, but also notice what other people are doing, and, be an analyzer when you're on the road. Predict what people are gonna do, because a lot of times they just do the stupidest thing possible. So now I'm gonna turn right, since there's no one coming, because I can turn right on red, unless it actually says no right on red, but this is a minor street, so I can do that. Luckily the guy behind me didn't honk at me for not turning when I could have. So now, most of these roads here, like I'm on Union Hills right now, you go 45 miles an hour, and there are usually 2 lanes going both directions. You have to constantly notice and be aware of what's going on around you at all times. Because, as I said, people are pretty crazy. So at stoplights, you just have to be aware. And one thing that's kind of nice, this guy's insane. One thing that's kind of nice is that at a lot of stoplights, you can see a counter, so you see how long you have before the light starts to turn yellow. Like there's 3, 2, 1, and then it's gonna turn yellow. And then, oh geez, that guy, yeah, that guy had a really big trailer attached to his thing, and he was going really slow in front of me, so I had to slow down a tiny bit. So, yeah, it shouldn't be too bad. I mean, it's not that different from driving on minor streets, but as you see, this lane, it opened up to become a new lane, so there's 3 lanes now going this direction, and soon this lane is going to end again, because as you'll see in a tiny bit, that yellow sign, the diamond sign that has an arrow and then or has a line and another line that's like slanted, that means the lane is going to end, so you have to get over to this lane that doesn't end. And there aren't too many things you have to worry about once you get really good at driving just on minor streets, because once you pay attention to everything that you've been doing on minor streets, like just being aware of what's going on around you, behind you, and it's not that different. But as I did say before, you'll probably be really nervous at first, not for sure, but it'll definitely get a lot easier. So right here, you don't have to do this, but I'm letting these 2 guys go because I was going a bit slower than the speed limit, just so I would have time to talk with you guys. What you'll notice sometimes is that people will tailgate you, and they're just really, really annoying. So they'll be like right on your bumper, even when you're going the speed limit. So usually, like at first, I was like kind of intimidated by them, and then I would speed up just to make them happy or whatever. But just ignore them. Just keep going the speed limit, because they can just deal with it. They can break the law whenever they want to, except when they're behind you. So, oh well for them. They don't get to break the law right then. So, that's an overview of how to drive. So, remember, first practice a ton in parking lots, then a lot in your neighborhood, so then you can just get prepared for how to react to different situations, and then finally major roads, which is the toughest, but it's still not too bad once you have a lot of practice. Good luck!